Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Life Moves podcast. It's going to be a great day. Episode 4, we are chatting about dance in cinema. Coming up here in a few minutes. Welcome. This is the BreakOut Studios Instagram account. We will be bringing on Michael Montoya here in a few moments to discuss some great topics today. Thank you for joining in, everyone. Life Moves podcast. We are recording for our podcast as well as streaming here on Instagram Live, and also we have a live stream going to our Patreon members. All very exciting. Thank you for joining. Again, Life Moves podcast starting today, 10 a.m. Wednesday the 20th. Awesome. All right. Thank you for joining us. Sweet. Saying hello to everyone. Getting set up, making sure our live stream's going here. Things looking good. Okay. Again, everyone, welcome to the Life Moves podcast with Michael Montoya. And my name is Todd Wilson. We'll go ahead and get Michael connected here in a few moments, and we'll get chatting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This podcast is all about everything dance-related, choreography, dancers, and the such. Go ahead and invite Michael to join us, and we'll get chatting. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for checking it out today. Again, we got our live stream going here on Instagram, also a live stream with our Patreon members. You can join it for our Patreon account, info in our bio. No worries, Michael. So today we'll be chatting about dance and cinema, which is really cool because we'll be connecting with you all and seeing what your favorite dance films are. I know I have a few TV shows included, so hopefully that'll be allowed. I have to ask Michael, but I know I'll be chatting about a few of the films that I grew up watching and connecting with and inspiring me to become a dancer, eventually a choreographer, now a studio owner. So that's our topic today, dance in cinema. What inspired you? What film got your creative energy flowing? So definitely be hitting us up, comment, let us know. We'll be doing a Q&A later on in the chat. Again, this is a Life Moves podcast, all about dance, all about choreography, all about being dancers, teachers, studio owners, all those great things. It's going to be so much fun today. We'll bringing on Michael Montoya, a hip-hop choreographer, creative, vocalist, tattoo artist, father, all-around great guy here in a few moments. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for coming and joining us today. We have a few people signing in here. Let's go and say hello. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can wave to people. I'm not as familiar with the Instagram Live as the other platforms, but I'm learning quickly. This is a lot of fun for us. Cool. Thank you again for joining. We'll get started here in just a few moments. Life Moves podcast, talking about dance in cinema today. So we'll be chatting all kinds of films, movie musicals, your favorite entertainment, including great dance scenes and works of choreography. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what inspires you. We want to connect with you. So make sure you comment. Here we go, bringing in Michael Montoya. Da, 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 da. 1 second. Hello.
I am so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So sorry for my tardiness.
That's all good. That happened to me last night with Dance Cardio. We had to restart the feed after we sent out the link to everyone. It was a hot mess.
That's a nightmare. Yeah, it's because I'm trying to set up. I have all these different devices going to set up to record, so that way people can see it after the fact. And all this, and it's like a bunch of running around.
Whoop.
Yeah, there you go. Close the door for a second.
No worries. Welcome, everyone. Life Moves podcast, episode 4. We are talking dance and cinema. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining today. Well, you're the main man, so I should say welcome for joining. Thank you for being here. So first of all, how you doing, man? What's new? What's going on?
Not a whole lot, just a lot of dadding, a lot of waiting around for stuff, and, same thing everybody's doing. Nice. Trying to keep busy, trying to keep positive, right, and trying to walk that fine, weird little political line we're all in right now.
How's your garden going?
Garden's going good.
Nice.
Get tomatoes, man.
Yeah.
Getting some tomatoes, you know, sprouting out here and there.
Isn't that fun?
It's pretty awesome.
It's so fun.
You got a huge garden.
Yeah, we keep the gardening at my parents' house. My main house, we haven't gotten to the gardening yet, but my parents' place we have a huge garden, and it's kind of our sanity to get out there and get in the dirt and play around. And like you said, man, it's gonna be tomato season. We kind of overdid it. My father made a comment this morning. He's like, we should probably pull some of these out because we're not gonna be able to like take care of this stuff. But we are moving forward with our garden. We'll have garden talk. Again, we are chatting today about dance in cinema, which I think is a really cool topic. I spent the morning reconnecting with things that I needed to get some more info on, make sure I knew who directed what and starred in what. But wow, what a cool topic. And I've already invited people to join in and chat with us along the way and send us their favorite movies, favorite dance scenes. I know I included one TV show on my list. I don't know if that's allowed, only because it's so important to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I have to say something about this. I don't know if it's allowed.
I wonder if it's what I think it is, but I'm intrigued as to what it would be.
It's totally random, so I doubt it's what you think it might be, and that would be really amazing.
All right.
So where do you want to begin? This is a topic that sort of sprung from your mind. So where are we going with this?
Let me tell you a little bit of the predicament I'm in from all the running around I was just doing. So I put out on Instagram yesterday, just asking people favorite moments, dance moments in film, and I got some amazing replies from a lot of different people. Stuff I've heard of, stuff I never thought of, stuff I've never heard of, and the device that I was going to record this conversation on kind of went a little bit kaput.
Oh no!
So I had to use my phone that had all these notes, and I was able to look up these people that said this is in the other room recording this conversation right now.
Oh,
so if anybody's out there that left a comment saying, suggesting a film, in the comments right now, we're talking about your favorite dance moments in cinema and television. Let's, throw it out there, cinema, television, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to try to go off of memory a little bit, but
that's awesome.
I'll start with throwing one out there that I think has been very influential to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Michael, you're cutting out a little bit on us here.
Tap to tap. This movie is just like you see.
I'm not sure if it's just me, Michael, but you're cutting it out a little bit. Let's see if we can get Michael back in here. Let's see if we can connect again with Michael. Sorry, everyone, having some technical difficulties. Thank you, Emma. Opening scene from Austin Powers Goldmember. Super fun. There's a lot of really good dancing in the Austin Powers movies. A few of my friends in LA were in some of those opening sequences or dance numbers. They really went full out, like really full out with their dancing. It's been, okay, we're connected with Michael again here. Let's see. Hello.
No idea what happened. Before we move on,
And all good.
We should probably let people know that this specific Brady Bunch format here is temporary.
Yes.
We've been talking about getting a setup.
Yeah.
Where we can do this in person, maybe a 2-camera set. I mean, something where we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff here.
Yeah, we're getting it figured out.
Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Oh, good. We've been chatting. No problem. So what was your movie you're throwing in, Michael? I totally missed it.
So Tap, the movie Tap. there's the opening scene. Gregory Hines is in prison, and the movie tap is like a who's who of tap dance, especially of that era. I think the movie came out like maybe 87, 88, somewhere around there. And I mean, it featured like a little 8-9-year-old Savion Glover. Well, Gregory Hines, the whole opening scene specifically, there's a sequence that opens the movie, and it's Gregory Hines who wakes up, and he's in this small jail cell, and it has that very cinematic blue tint, and he's having this anxiety attack, and he's breathing, and he's just listening. He's trying to just kind of, essentially he's trying to just kind of find any kind of rhythm, any kind of groove, so that way he can just mellow himself out. So he's sitting up in his jail cell and he's breathing, anxiety, and he's just breathing. He just listens, and he hears little drops here, that, but he starts forming this pattern, buddy. And he starts grabbing his tap shoes and he puts them on. And it's this shot, just this kind of wide shot where you just see his silhouette standing in the middle of the frame like this. And like, say this is where's my finger? Where's my other finger? Say this is the jail cell right up in here. He's right here just dancing. And you see the silhouette, and he's just moving more. And you hear all these other prisoners like, shut up, man. And before you know it, he's like slamming his feet from one wall to the other. And it just goes faster. So he just drops like this release. Then it cuts to the next day where he's getting out of prison, and you realize the anxiety wasn't about him necessarily being caged up. It was about, he's about to be free. Who is he? And then it's like the struggle. But it establishes this is who this man is. This is his rhythm centric. He's very rhythm centric, and this is how he communicates. This is how he deals with stuff. The movie Tap, if you haven't seen it,
it's so good. Yeah, it's actually on my list as well. There's quite a few sequences. I like the studio sequence too. There's a studio sequence where I think it starts with Savion in there kind of rehearsing by himself, and then like the elders kind of come in and groove it. It's really just amazing.
Yeah, it's like Sandman and like all these really old school heads. It's fun. It's one of the great things about cinema in film is sometimes like that it captures these pioneers and people that go unnoticed, because a lot of pioneers really get the crappy end of the stick. They just don't get recognized. And you see something like this, I mean, it's history. It's this little museum on film of these old school dancers still doing it. It's incredible. So Tap was definitely one of my choices, something that I still to this day will draw inspiration from. That one moment, I love it. I mean, that whole movie in general, but there's something about that one moment.
Right,
you could do that on stage.
Totally. One of the first to come to my mind, because I was such a Disney kid growing up, and Disney was such an important time and content producer when I was a child, would be Mary Poppins. I mean, the chimney sweepers, Dick Van Dyke and his grooves, and even looking back, I went through some YouTube videos, like even Julie Andrews got down a few times in some sequences. Like, it's such a good, especially when they combine the cartoon. I mean, I know that was done different moments with different people, but the way they did it was so entertaining, and what a cool moment for children to participate in and see live action and mix with that. But the chimney sweepers for me was, as a kid, was the best. And like, they're dirty, which is awesome. They were jumping around. Boom. Like the whole parkour-ness of it. I mean, it was just incredible. So there's so many Disney. I also pulled up Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, only because there's a chocolate factory scene where they're rolling around on the chocolate trays and they're swinging them around and they're doing leaps. I love props, so that was a really great film. But another Gregory Hines movie that was huge because it showed two men doing ballet and tap was White Nights. And that was huge for me just because I was doing ballet at the time growing up, and Gregory Hines with his tapping, and Mikhail Brishnikov when they had the pirouette competition in the studio. And it's just a good movie too. It's just about him coming to the States and leaving Russia. It's really fabulous. White Nights, if you haven't seen it,
White Nights. A couple people have mentioned that on Instagram.
Yeah.
Jazz mentioned that. A couple people mentioned
1985.
White Nights as well too.
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, that was before Tap, I believe.
Yeah, with Gregory Hines, Taylor Hackford.
And you know Gregory Hines. Gregory Hines is he's a breed of dancer that really doesn't exist the way that they do. You know, it's a I love watching Gregory Hines tap. It's this great balance of masculinity but gracefulness, working cohesively together, not jeopardizing or sacrificing one for the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any old videos of Gregory Hines going on award shows and not even having anything planned. He's just talking to the audience, "What's up, guys?" And he's just kind of just going for it.
He's so smooth.
Like magic.
He's a showman.
To piggyback off of the Disney thing, the Mary Poppins. Yeah, I've always been drawn to Step in Time. All the reasons you said. I've always drawn to any kind, even though it's Mary Poppins, you don't think this deeply into it. But there's something about these chimney sweeps, dirty, gringy, and blah, blah, blah. They're the bottom of society. They're the chimney sweepers, for goodness sake. Blah, these guys. Yet there's this embrace of celebration of what we have. They're the chimney tops and the beauty of all this. And I've always loved that. It's almost like, oh man, probably another good one is the party scene, even though it's not a dance sequence per se.
Yeah.
The party scene, kind of a good example of what I'm talking about. The moment in Titanic where Jack tells Rose, "So you want to go to a real party?"
Right.
Smash cut to.
Totally.
And suddenly these lower decks, the people in the lower decks, this just celebration and culture, the culture of the dances they're doing, down to the instruments, down to everything. We may have nothing, but we have this.
Right.
And I think there's something about the chimney sweep that I really loved about that. And also the moment where Dick Van Dyke's dancing with the penguins.
Yep.
From an animation point of view and a choreographer's point of view, when you look at that, they had run into these problems when during the choreography, when Dick Van Dyke's doing his little movements, waddle movements like a dolphin, like a penguin. And he's kicking, spinning around kicking. Well, in the animation, he's kicking through the penguins,
right.
dolphins. He's kicking through these penguins. So the animators, if you look closely, the animation of the penguins is integrated with the choreography, and they're like dodging and weaving and all these little kicks and jumping over his feet and doing all this stuff. It's like, Mary Poppins.
This is way before we had the sensor suits of like Happy Feet, you know, this is so raw, just hard work.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Let me see. Who else we got out there? Does anybody have any suggestions? We're talking about dance moments in cinema. But while we do that, I'm going to throw out, let me see, one that would be, I have a couple that I could throw. Well, I'll mention a few that I remember that people mentioned to me. One mention that I thought was kind of cool was Pee Wee Herman and Pee Wee's Big Adventure in the bar scene.
Yep.
That is incredible. If you do a whole pass at that as a sequence, from the moment he enters the bar, from the moment he leaves, it's genius. So yeah, I agree. My brother said that. A couple people had mentioned that one. Some person. This is deep cuts nerdy stuff. There's this old movie, 80s movie called Rad. That's about BMX freestyle biking. And there's a scene where the lead, Crew Jones, who's this bike guy, he meets this other teenage gal who's also a freestyle biker, and he meets his match. And they go to their prom, but they have this really weird dance sequence in the middle of a circle in their prom on their bikes, doing these slow tricks. And it was to that one song, "Send Me an Angel." Remember that? And it's just like, awesome. That was mentioned. It's just funny because you think cinema and dance, and you always think these big, amazing moments, whether it's like Gene Kelly,
right?
Whether it's Fred Astaire, whether it's you name it. But then there's also like the Napoleon Dynamites,
Totally.
you know, there's the Uma Thurmans and the John Travoltas in Jackrabbit Slim, as was mentioned by by Hondro, I think. I love weird old prom scenes. Teen Wolf, Teen Wolf they had a wolf dance in there.
What was that one film? It was a prom scene where they had a dance break, and it was like Freddie Prinze Jr. and someone else, and it was that funk soul brother, check it out.
Check it out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funk soul brother.
I don't remember what that was, but that was a good one.
That was Wade Robinson who choreographed that as well too, wasn't it?
I think so. I'm not sure.
It would have been right within that little time frame, but I could have sworn it was. Could be wrong.
One of the movies I have in here, which is, I think, some of the most epic numbers, is The Wiz. Amazing dance breaks, great music, great, obviously, iconic actors. I have Moulin Rouge was a big, more recent movie, but Baz Luhrmann with his visuals and the choreography was so big. The tango scene with the tango dancers was incredible. But I think for me it was the combination of the visuals and movement put together with the lighting and costuming. It was just such a spectacle and so bright and so powerful for me. And the way it was filmed too, it was really creatively done with speeding up film and rolling it back and timing and levels. And it was really a masterclass on energy. And that's the same thing he did with Romeo and Juliet too. But with movement, with working with his choreographers, it was just so go. She's All That. That's the name of it. Thank you, Jez.
She's All That. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those, I mean, even aside from like musicals, I mean, just sequences that are just moments, just energy. The parade scene on Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Twist and Shout.
Right.
You know, there's a great example of something like that. One dance moment that I've always admired is from a comedy in around the same 88, 89, around the same time as Tat, Coming to America. There's this dance sequence that takes place during this wedding at the very beginning, where Eddie Murphy's character Prince Hakeem has an arranged marriage with another princess from some other kingdom, and he's about to see his wife for the first time at the altar, and it's this gigantic, I mean, it was a huge production. So they're in this castle, and then they have this ceremonial dance, you know, these dancers that come out, this African gowns of arms, and the dance itself is incredible. I don't know if you get away with it nowadays because it was actually choreographed by Paula Abdul doing the West African dance. But with that being said, the choreography, what she did with that was really incredible. If you take another pass and just look at Coming to America, just the dance sequence Paula Abdul did for the wedding, it's nuts. The movements, you could see so many different styles in there. You can definitely see almost Laker Girl style-esque things. You can see traces of social dances of that time. You can see a lot of African dances, but I thought that moment was very powerful, and I think that really sold the grandness of that kingdom and of the moment. Right.
That's awesome. Any other movies people want to throw out? We have Burlesque, 50 Days of Summer. I think that's the one with who did that dance? That dude, I can't remember his name, from Third Rock from the Sun. I can't remember his name.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, that's him.
Is 50 Days of Summer? Is there a dance in that? Is that the one
in the park where they're like, you know, they all come together? It's like a movie musical moment, but the movie itself has nothing to do with like musicals at all. It just has like this random. It's good.
Well, there's Coley Curry had mentioned Ex Machina. Is it Machina Ex Machina? Or Poe Dameron's dancing with the robot.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Have you ever seen that? You haven't seen it? All right. So the guy Oscar Isaac. You know, he's like this eccentric kind of like Tony Stark, Elon Musk type of deal, and he's building robot people and whatnot. And he has this very, you know, this it looks obviously like a dancer. It's this woman who's like this android, and at one point he just flips off the music, and she's just very just spacey. She's a robot.
Yeah.
And flips on the music, and he goes out there and he programs her to like do these dance routines with him. And it's like this called disco things, and just that moment is so incredible.
Oh, I have to check that out.
Like, I would do that. I would do that. That moment is pretty amazing.
Dancing.
But yeah, it's not a dance movie, nothing like that. But that moment's pretty incredible. What's the TV thing that you were talking about?
Oh, going back to Disney, Kids Incorporated.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
It's only on for 2 years, but then the reruns.
Was it really?
It was only on for 2 years, from '84 to '86, but then the reruns kicked back in and ran for a long time until '96. So maybe it was an expensive production. I mean, obviously Mickey Mouse Club was amazing, but for some reason, my sister and I loved Kids Incorporated on Disney Channel.
That's right.
They had musical numbers, they sang. I think there's even more dancing than there was on Mickey Mouse Club. It was so awesome. So that was a TV show I really connected with, was Kids Incorporated on Disney Channel.
And it was like a group of teenagers, right, that worked at a nightclub.
Yeah.
They were the entertainment at like a teen nightclub, right? And so they're always, it's almost like Purple Rain, where they're always backstage, like, all our troubles at school and all this. Oh, time to hit the stage, guys, in 10 minutes. They're like, all right. And they have to like get over whatever fights they are to go out to sing, you know,
Sounds like
whatever it is.
sounds like me and my cousins going to Cactus Moon teen night.
Yeah. Man.
Oh my god.
I think one of the most the scenes that influenced me. I'm trying to think of other dance sequences that influenced me more. It's such a small little thing. Is the dance battle and house party. The dance battle and house party really sculpted. You know, that's where I was like, that's what I do. That's me, and that's my friend. Because at that point in time, again, that's about 88. I think House Party came out in 1988, something like that. I was in 7th grade, I think, somewhere 7th grade, something like that. And I started dancing, like all the Running Man, all the street social dance stuff, somewhere around 5th grade, something like that. So this hit right at that point in time. And from that point in time, it was like, all right, me and my boy are going to get routines together. So when we go to dances, when we go to this, and we're looking for those circles, and we're going to slay people. We're going to slay whoever. And there are other people that would do that same thing. You know, people that would be good dancers, and they'd have friends, and they would get routines together. And, you know, when the occasion arose, you know, you'd go ahead. And it was like House Party. It was incredible. But, yeah, House Party. It's, for those who don't know, House Party's a movie, Kid and Play. Kid is in high school. He gets into a fight at school, gets grounded, so he can't go to plays. This kid, his best friend, plays House Party because his parents are out of town, so he sneaks out of his house to go to the party. So the whole movie is his adventure, sneaking out of the house, going to the party, being chased by bullies. The cops get involved. His dad's looking for him. But within this party, you know, this little dance battle breaks out in the middle of this circle. And such a great little contrast with all the urban, you know, the atmosphere, the landscape, the soundtrack, because there's an element of the movie that's pretty hard. And then again, the grace and the hard, you know, the hard edge really contrast really nice off each other. But yeah, that little dance battle was always hugely a big influence.
Nice.
Me when I was younger.
The movie that my sister probably ran through the VHS a couple of times was probably Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
It was always on. It was always on TV whenever you were homesick, or my sister was always watching it, but that was one that was always going.
Yeah.
There were some really adult themes in that movie, and my parents just kind of let us roll with it. Like,
As most parents did.
Yeah.
It's so funny because most people who know that movie are like, I grew up watching that movie.
Right.
And when you look back at that movie, you're like, oh, I wouldn't let my kid watch this.
I mean, like Dirty Dancing, obviously, but like there's, you know, the whole scene with the woman's health situation and the parents not wanting her to be there and the love and the oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a lot going
I know
on.
it was Kenny Ortega who directed that movie, but do you know who choreographed? Who was the choreographer on that?
I actually have the IMDb up. 1 second. Let me see. Who's the choreographer.
I know what that movie was. The stars really aligned with that movie. I think it's, you know, Patrick Swayze is the one who really tied all that together because his
Right.
mom was like, wasn't she like a professional ballroom dancer? And he
His
grew
his
up.
mom was the founder of Jazzercise.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and she,
That's incredible.
I actually took from her at Jazz Dance World Congress one year, and I mean,
Whoa.
she's the one in those videos, the Jazzercise videos that are hysterical. I have to pull one up. It is so freaking funny. But yeah, Jazzercise, she worked it out.
Yeah.
All right, I'm pulling up.
But yeah, Kenny Ortega, who I think directed that, he was also a choreographer
He
as
might,
well.
I think he might have choreographed it because it says the director here is Emilio Ardinello, and then let me see who they have.
That's actually, yeah, Kenny Ortega, I think, choreographed.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kenny Ortega also is, you know, he directed, I think he directed the High School Musical movies later on. But he also, he did, when Michael Jackson started to do his own solo tours, he did the Bad Tour. Well, first he was touring with his brothers. He never did a tour with Thriller. Then he did the Bad Tour. And then after the Bad Tour, he wanted to do something more of a spectacle. He wanted his stage performance to be more like a magic show, pyrotechnics and all these different things. And Kenny Ortega was hired on to direct the Dangerous Tour, I believe. And I think he was like the director, the creative director for Dangerous, for like his history tour and a lot of This Is It. He did that whole This Is It.
He directed the TV adaptation of Dirty Dancing. I guess there's a TV version, and now he's actually redoing Dirty Dancing. There's gonna be a new one that's just been announced. He also did Newsies.
They're probably gonna be twerking.
Oh, they're gonna be twerking it out. Talk about dirty dancing.
He's really dirty. I think he directed Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus, Fame, the iconic the dance TV show.
You have to mention Fame. You have in this whole conversation, like Fame is huge. Talk about dealing with a lot of mature themes and stuff like that, especially within the movie.
Right.
There's a whole audition scene in that. That's just like, oh. And you hear about a lot of stuff going on, in current time, the Me Too movement and all this, and it's just way ahead of its time in that respect. And with Fame comes Debbie Allen, Janet Jackson, I think was one of her first acting gigs, aside from, I think she was on what is it, Good Times, something like that. Anyways, but Debbie Allen, man, Debbie Allen is if you're a dancer, a choreographer that's interested in film or filmmaking, I spent hours just listening to Debbie Allen talk. Find interviews, long-form interviews of her talking about film, because everything she talks about is from the point of view of a dancer. She's like, I don't really understand how to do this except for through the eyes of dance. And everything she kind of talks through with film is rhythmic, and it's just something that's so relatable to people like us that have to move to think. She has to move to create, and she's just really, developed this whole little science. I'm always fascinated by these dancers and choreographers that have done a lot of this stuff, that have a lot of this type of wisdom. I know I've listened to I can't remember if it's Tony Basil or Tony Basil. I think it's Basil, right?
Oh Lord.
Hey, Big P, you're so fun.
Yeah,
So
I know
funny.
who it is. I'm very familiar, but Basil, I don't know.
Well, she of course did the Hey Mickey, you're so fine. She's that one hit wonder, but amongst the dance community, she's very well known because she's been a choreographer for years and years, and and she was part of the landscape of like the original Locking Crew and of a lot of these people. But she's talked about one little thing I've heard her say that has always stuck with me. She talked about dances within period pieces. Like if you're doing a period piece and there's any kind of dance sequences, whatever, she said you could always tell when it's false because the dancers are just doing their routines. They're just doing the movements, the choreography, which are the social dances of the time and all that stuff. But she said that, or how does she put it? the choreography of what they're doing looks false because it looks more current than it does of that time. And she talked about how she would always, whatever period piece she's working on, she would make the dancers learn all the social dances at that time, the mashed potatoes, the this, the that, you know, all the boogaloo, all these different movements, and understand the way people moved. How did they move? When they groove, how did they do it? There's an undergroove within every time period, every era. The way people danced in the 60s, just even in club atmospheres, you know, it's very kind of head, you know, these kind of head bob things and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the groove. And then you go up into the 70s and the 80s, and in the 80s, everything started to get a little bit more bouncy here, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then you get into the 90s, and you get into this, and it's like, oh, this deep, and, you know, and now you look at a lot of the street, the social dances, and all these kids on the TikToks, it's all these set of twos. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, yeep, bop, ba-da-da. There's this, like, very, you know, every era has this undergroove that determines the groove of the dance. And so if you have somebody of this era doing something from the 1960s and they're doing the choreography, but the undergroove is off, it's not going to be right. They need to study the social dances of that era to understand the mechanics of how you move. And then when you do the choreography, it's going to be a little bit more natural. But in it of itself, it was just a huge eye opener for me because I'm like, man, she just gave subtext to dance, the undergroove of dance within certain eras, and how to, you know, I don't know, that always resonated with me. It always resonated with me. And she was like an assistant choreographer, like on the Tammy show, which is where James Brown did the Night Train performance, like that famous Night Train performance. She was there. She saw that stuff. She was there when, like, the Rolling Stones. Like, it's crazy to me that these people are still alive. I
saw a few years back a show in Vegas, and it was Bette Midler, and she choreographed that. This is only like 6-7 years ago. Crazy. She's still working it. She had a viral video recently of her just grooving in her garage.
Bette Midler?
Tony.
Oh, she was ruining her garage?
Grooving in her garage.
Oh, okay. I thought that you said there's a video of Bette Midler ruining her garage.
There might be.
Why are we talking about that right now? I thought it was like another Madonna meltdown in the milk bath.
Oh my God. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know.
No.
But, you know, I know that right now, well, not right now, because nobody's doing anything right now, but they were in the middle of filming the new West Side Story movie, which is directed by Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
And Steven Spielberg is somebody who, just the way that, you know, the camera moves, just his collaboration with the cinematographer, I don't think that Steven Spielberg had ever really storyboarded anything. He always said, that's part of the fun, just showing up there and framing it on the spot and figuring it out. And if you look at the takes and you look at, you know, everything that he does in film, there's such rhythm to it. He moves and makes film like a dancer, his team, his cinematographer. So I'm really interested to see what he's going to do with the musical, especially West Side Story, you know. Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see the people he'll surround himself with, too.
Yeah.
You know,
and Steven Spielberg is also very famous for using a lot of one single takes as well, too. And I'm hoping to see a lot of that because now we're so cut heavy in film, and especially dance. You know, you get people shooting dance and you're like, man, there's obviously people behind the camera, behind the scenes that just don't understand dance because the frame is like right here where we are here. They're just dancing like this and here, and then they do wide shots. They do it for a moment, and then you could say it's all in editing. And
I think
back in, you know, at a certain point in time, it was a lot of very long single takes, very wide takes, and you could see this performance unfolding. And I'm hoping to see a little more of that in this West Side Story movie.
I think when you see those films that are edited so hard, that is a indication of, you know, those big American in Paris type scenes back in the day where there was just one shot and it was so much going on. That took a ton of people. It took massive sound stages, massive operations, from costuming to the rigging crew. I mean, it was so big that's so rare nowadays, because now you can have a group of 8 dancers, and with editing you can make them look like there's 50, but it takes so much more work to have these like epic grand scale sequences. Some people were talking about go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Some people on the feed early on, I think it was when you were coming back on the feed, where they're bringing up all the different dance openers of Austin Powers and how big they were. It was huge. I think that was Margaret Derricks who did all those. But yeah, fun. A lot of 60s movement. A lot of, like you said, like the head bops and the little like kind of Fosse-esque things, but not Fosse-esque things. It was really, really awesome.
Yeah. I know, I'm trying to think of a couple of things that people had brought up. There was a few people that had mentioned center stage.
Yeah, I have that on my list.
The dress reveal moment. Center stage was mentioned a couple times. What else was mentioned a few times here? La La Land. La La Land got brought up as well too. A couple sequences on La La Land, which I have to admit, I've actually never seen La La Land.
Michael.
I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud.
Mandy Moore choreographed. Very good.
Is that Mandy Moore?
Mm-hmm.
Man, her name has just gotten so big.
Yeah, she really blew up with So You Think You Could Dance, and then I think her career kind of got a jolt of energy. I had the privilege of early on working with her quite a bit, assisting her with LADF and a few other conventions, and she was a hardcore choreographer, teacher.
I remember hearing stories.
Individual.
Because didn't she come to the U of A a couple times as well too and work with?
Not with our crew. She might have come for a showcase or something, but when I was on scholarship at the Edge doing Dance of the Force, we had to go to nationals in a few of the cities to actually assist the teachers, and she was on the convention circuit at the time, and she put us through it. I mean, she really tested our dance knowledge and our choreography ways of picking up. I remember being on stage with her, and she'd say, "Okay, assistants, I want you to change directions every 2 8 counts. Here we go, 5, 6, 7." We'd have to just do it, and it would be this crazy long contemporary piece. And she's like, "All right, now I want my assistants to go throughout the room. They're gonna face you." And we're like, "Okay, we have to reverse this and just go." It was fun, but she was tough. She actually kicked me off stage once for not knowing the choreography. I like missed like one step, and into the mic she's like, "Get off my stage." Like, okay.
Oh no.
No, I mean, good lesson, I guess.
Stories about that, about how she has just always been known to really shake up the status quo of things. Yeah. Even especially when it comes to body types in dance. Mm-hmm. You hear a lot. I remember hearing a lot about that kind of stuff too.
Right.
But yeah, Mandy Moore.
And she's an incredible dancer to watch too. Like I remember her in the faculty shows at the conventions. I mean, girl could turn. Woo! I mean, she was. I remember she'd always wear like those old school lace-up jazz shoes. I'm like, damn, she's working those old school jazz shoes, kicking and leaping and turning. And she actually, I think, applied for Edge scholarship and didn't get it, and then came back as a master teacher, and then came back as a master choreographer, and now she's doing feature film, which is amazing. So it goes to show you, don't give up.
Academy Award winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, did her choreography win? Didn't she win a choreography award for that?
I think she won. I think the choreography award was through the Golden Globe. I don't know if the Academy Awards has anything like that. I think she won a Golden Globe or something. But I know she has many Emmys for So You Think.
Inside.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think what other Disney always had a lot of stuff. There was a couple moments. One I remember somebody had brought up was Billy Elliot's audition as being a moment that they felt was very powerful.
So emotional and very, very, very powerful. Even that scene where he's dancing down the street and his, like the sort of glossy, rained on sidewalks and was it Ireland?
I was it. I want to say. I want to say so. It's been a while. I need to do another pass at that movie.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen that movie in a long time, and I'll probably understand so much more.
We actually had a student through. I think it was right when TDC was transitioning to Breakout who auditioned. I actually got a call from a friend who was in. I think he might have been in Phoenix. I'm not sure if it was Phoenix or LA. And we had a kid that was sort of just training with us. He wasn't really on team, but he was training with us, who could sing and could dance. He was really young, could do gymnastics. And we sent him to the audition, and he booked the national tour of Billy Elliot. It was really cool. I mean, totally changed his life. And he was like 11 when this happened.
Yeah. It's incredible that the power of these kind of moments, because it could be something big and grand, like the shake your tail feather sequence on Blues Brothers, or it could be as small as Uma Thurman and John Travolta dancing on the tabletop at the Jack Rabbit Slims, and
I have a funny story about that movie Pulp Fiction. My mother thought that was a dance film, and she doesn't like scary or shoot 'em ups or anything. So she went with my father, and she thought it was a dance movie. So needless to say, a little bit of a shock.
Wait, why did she think it was a dance movie?
Just because the trailer had them like doing their thing.
But see how powerful it is. It's that kind of, there you go.
My mom might be watching too.
It's so iconic. Just doing, the Batman. This is called the Batman dance and whatnot, and doing all these different things. And it's not like these people just getting down.
Right.
It's these two people that are just kind of like meh, and just drugged up, and
Right.
But there's just something really powerful about seeing just these two people up there and just saying screw it.
Well,
I think that's what I think the liberation of it all. I think people, for me, I can't speak for everybody or generally, but there's your mom right here. What is she saying?
It had John Travolta. I just thought it would be dancing. I was horrified for years.
I mean, there you go. That does lend to it, and it has John Travolta's Saturday Night Fever. We have to mention Saturday Night Fever.
Oh my God.
So, but there's something about watching dance on film for me that's just that feels so liberating. Like, yes, I want to just feel like that. I don't want to feel the stress of this, the weight of that, thinking about this, thinking about that. It's like, I wish there were these moments where everything just like suddenly dance just happens.
Right.
And when those moments do happen and there's people and they're just in the pocket of the moment,
right.
You just can't help but draw away. There's something primal that we're drawn to, whether it's something as simple as Uma Thurman and John Travolta on the tabletop, or like, man, I mentioned the Blues Brothers movie. One of my favorite dance sequences in cinematic history is the James Brown church scene.
Right.
There's a church scene in there where James Brown is a pastor, and the Blues Brothers are in there, and they're trying to figure out, what they're going to do, and they get this big old video. Anyways, it's this giant cathedral church. The ceilings are so high up, and James Brown is just this pastor. Look it up on YouTube. Do yourself a favor and look this up. Man, this thing is incredible. And it's James Brown being the most James Browniest you've ever seen him. When they were filming this dance sequence, it's this, it's of course this like spiritual and so they recorded it, and when you do a film, you're supposed to lip sing and all that because they edit the music in later. James Brown never sings anything the same twice, so they had to mic up and the actual band there and all that stuff, and they're like, well, we just have to get him performing this live.
Right.
And the dancers had to kind of go with it, and the tempo was way faster than they thought it was going to be and all this stuff. And when you see that sequence, that's James Brown. I mean, he is doing that, and you feel the energy in that room is just erupting. It is erupting. I don't know if I've ever seen anything that I feel matches the energy of that scene.
Wow.
I mean, every time I see that scene, I think like I want to create something film-wise with dance just because of this. I want, to see if I could do something like that.
Yeah.
That's a huge
That's
inspiration.
so cool. One of the more recent trailers, and Jez and I were talking about this last night, that really inspired us was the In the Heights film that's being created from the musical. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda's first Tony Award-winning show, In the Heights. So they're redoing it to a film, and the trailer, I mean, whoever did the trailer should win an Academy Award. It is so good. But it's just a celebration of urban life and family and culture and movement and community. It looks fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Andy Bunkenbuehler, I believe, He choreographed Hamilton. He choreographed In the Heights. He choreographed Cats, the movie, recently. Let's not blame the choreographer for that one.
I know. Any choreographer would have been stoked to get that gig,
Totally.
It was, but yeah, how could you have known, I guess?
Yeah. So we're coming up again on the 11 o'clock hour. We have to transition over to our open tap class with Jez. Do we have any more comments or questions or anything you all want to talk about as we wrap up this discussion about dance and cinema?
Dance and cinema. Favorite dance moments. What do you guys got for us?
Let us know what you're thinking.
I'm gonna throw out Rosie Perez at the beginning of Does It Do the Right Thing? Was it Do the Right Thing? She was dancing to Fight the Power.
Right.
Public Enemy.
She was a dancer on Soul Train, right?
Yeah, and she was actually the choreographer for In Living Color. She did all
Really?
the Flying Girls routines. Yep.
That's amazing.
One. Yeah, Keena Ivory Wayans went up to her because she was just she's a social dancer. She was just a street dancer, social dancer, and she did that whole opening sequence to Fight the Power for Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, and then In Living Color came, and she's the one who I think she cast J-Lo. She did all that. She did all the music. She did that whole nine. She's very interesting to hear talk about her career and what she's done as a choreographer with all that, the struggles she had to go through, the war she had to fight. Like Rosie Perez is no joke.
She'd be a good interview for us.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love that.
That's awesome. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today so we can transition our production over to our YouTube Live open tap class with Jez. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Michael. And next week, we are doing sort of a COVID-19 dancer life, studio life conversation with some people and talking about how we're all doing right now in this current pandemic and how we're transitioning ourselves and all that.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
Awesome.
I think we talked a little bit about that, about how I was very fascinated to hear about all these teachers that I know and hearing their stories about the transition from doing dance classes one way and suddenly to this format here, and all these different obstacles and things I just never even thought of. But not only that, there are some hilarious stories because when you get into Zoom teaching and all that stuff,
my God.
There's hilarious stories, and it'd be fun to get into a lot of that stuff. The stuff that we didn't think about, the stuff that's funny, maybe stuff that's not so funny. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Michael, and thank you all for watching once again. We have a live feed we'll be wrapping up here on our Patreon account. We'll be posting this conversation to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day. Life moves, move with it. Bye, everyone.